Hello, this is the Tradesight U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview for Wednesday, the 14th of January 2015. Here's a look at the ES front month futures contract daily chart. You can see we came back in a little bit more again on Tuesday. A pretty wild swing. We had gapped up actually on the markets and kept going early. It was a big gap. And then we reversed that whole thing over lunch and more, and then recovered. By the end of the day, we had closed with the S&P just down 5 and the NDX down 3. So it looked like not much happened, but as you'll see in a moment when we go to the intraday charts, actually quite a bit did. So here's the S&P cash index. Here's the NASDAQ NDX 100 index. Again, a wave of selling. This is a lot of selling we're seeing in waves, institutional level selling over the last couple of days. Something to keep in mind. Here's the SOX index, which had a negative day and is approaching a key support level just under that 660. Breaks that, it will be in trouble. There's the biotechs, gapped to new highs and then reversed and came back and closed. Notice all the dark candles. I mean, we're closing lower than we're opening on the markets since the beginning of the year. And again, if I look at this NDX, for example, we talked about the first 3 days of January. If they are in one direction, which they were all down, then typically on average one of the rules of the markets is that the rest of January will be higher. We are still higher than where we closed after those first 3 days, but certainly it doesn't feel overly positive. And if you look at the S&P side, we're only about 10-15 points higher than where that close was. So we're seeing waves of selling, but we're still higher than the low of the first 3 days. We don't have anything definitive to say about that yet. Here's a look at crude oil, closed even lower, 46.07. Just unbelievable what's going on in crude. The VIX was up almost a point to 20.56, and NASDAQ volume closed exactly at 2 billion shares, which is solid. That's the best day volume-wise of the year. And we had some winners. It was a green day for us, not as fun as the prior day, which took off very quickly. So what do we have looking forward? Well, actually, first let's look at the intraday action here on the futures and 5-minute bars. So, again, Monday we had gapped up a little bit and sold off quickly, and then we're flat the rest of the session. Here on Tuesday we gapped up big and kept going, and we held that for the first 2 hours, 2.5 hours of play. We were right in the middle of that range, and then once we came into lunchtime, which is an interesting time for it, the biggest move of the day actually occurred over lunch between the noon and 2 p.m. Eastern time window there. Came back, filled the gap and more. And then almost right after that, right after they come back from lunch, and the volume picks back up, that was the bottom of the day, and we kind of rallied back up towards the VWAP midpoint area. If you look at it on the NASDAQ side, here's what the NASDAQ futures look like. Very similar, obviously. We end up closing net nowhere for the 2 days. So what does that leave for the days ahead? Well, we have a lot of economic data coming out over the next couple of days. For example, on Wednesday, we've got the MBA mortgage index, an hour and a half, 2.5 hours before the bell, retail sales and import-export prices, then business inventories, crude oil inventories, and in the afternoon, Fed beige book. We've still got CPI and PPI ahead this week, along with others, the Philly Fed, and this is options expiration for January this week, as we've discussed. So you could make the argument, perhaps, that this big move we saw today was options unraveling. It would be unusual for it to happen on a Tuesday, but it can. And if that was it, it didn't hold a single direction really, but there was some volatility. That would not bode well for the rest of the week in terms of excitement. But hopefully instead we're going to see that options unraveling after the first hour, either Wednesday or Thursday when we normally get it. So keep an eye out for that. And then of course Friday, probably not going to be very exciting. The actual expiration and everybody taking off for a 3-day weekend. Charts have been brought to you as usual by eSignal. Everybody have a great trading week. We will be in the lab trying to help you out.